These are the three things I would do if I struggled with being overweight and my doctor prescribed me either diet pills like Adipex or Suprenza or injectables like Ozempic or Wegovy. There's a ton of names for both of them. Those are the most popular. Number one is I would track my calories. Now, of course, these drugs are meant to be an appetite suppressant. So you're going to want to eat really low amounts of calories, which is great for losing weight. But if you're eating extreme amounts low of calories, it's going to cause you to lose muscle mass along the way. So number one, that's why I would track my calories to make sure that I'm eating enough to protect muscle mass, but just being in a slight deficit to make sure that I'm losing body fat along the way. Number two is I would make sure I control 2 of my macronutrients. So there are 3 macronutrients in total: protein, carbs, and fat. The 2 that I would really focus on, number one is protein, making sure that you're getting adequate amounts daily. Protein is the only macronutrients that's going to help you sustain or build muscle mass along the way. Naturally, because you're on the appetite suppressants, you're not going to feel very hungry, especially for protein. That's why I would track it. If you're a grown man, you're trying to get at least at minimum 150 grams daily. The second macronutrient that we're going to take a look at is carbohydrates, and specifically fiber. The goal for that is 35 to 45 grams if you're a grown man. These are going to come mostly from fruits and vegetables, foods you're not going to be super excited for while being on an appetite suppressant. That's why I'm tracking it, to make sure that I'm getting adequate amounts. Protein and fiber are God's way of helping create suppressant with our appetite. So the better we get at getting those numbers up higher while we're on these drugs, when we come off of the drugs, we'll be able to keep our results long term because we're using God's way of keeping the appetite suppressants high. And then number 3 is, as we know, weight loss is very psychological as well, and I'd be working on that while on these drugs. The first thing I would do is work on my identity. One of the longest studies we have for people that kept the weight off long term, the number one indicator for success was changing their identity. If you think you're fat and lazy, you'll probably be fat and lazy. If you think you're fit and active, you'll probably be fit and active. Don't mean to oversimplify it, but working on your identity is super important for long-term success. The second thing from a psychological side of things is your environment. If you're surrounded by candy, cookies, cupcakes, and ice cream, and you struggle with over-consuming those foods, you're always going to struggle. Get those foods, get those drinks out of the house that you struggle over-consuming. Long-term, it will set you up for success. You can have them, just get them out of the house. And then number 3, from a psychological side of things, is your perspective. If you've made it all the way to the end of this video, you've lived long enough to know that life is going to throw curveballs at you. If your current method of dealing with stress is going to comfort food, we can see that that strategy is not very effective for keeping weight off. So we got to work on other stress relieving mechanisms that are healthy, that aren't going to comfort foods for long-term success. Hope this helps. The pills and the drugs are not magic. You got to put the work in. These are the strategies I would do to help me get off the drugs long-term and to keep my results forever. Hope this helps.